Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to Only Leeds Bros. Oh yeah, didn't really plan on making a video tonight. Just thought it would be our match review tomorrow. Um, but as we've all seen, the Square Ball have done their interview with Angus Kinnear, and yeah, just going to be immediate match reaction. I did think it was actually going to be tomorrow. I was sure it was going to be Friday. They were going to release it, and it would have been a good bit to kind of to get our teeth into tomorrow with a pre-match review and obviously the interview with Angus Kinnear. But yeah, when it came out, I had to listen to it straight away, and I've just finished listening to it there, and probably I'm going to listen to it again because there's a lot in there to kind of pick the bones of it. It was 90 minutes, and I would say that the lads at the Square Ball, Dan Moylan and Michael D, they didn't throw many softballs. They really did try and answer ask the questions that us all fans needed to be answered, and I do think that he done that. I do think that they asked the hard questions. They did pressure on a lot. And look at guys, I think Angus Kinnear's reputation is probably on the ground from the previous regime from the previous ownership. But I do have to say, I thought he spoke very well there. Look, and I understand, look, he's a businessman, he's prepped on it, he knows exactly what to say. But he did answer the questions that we need to be answering. The only thing that you can do is kind of take that as face value until proven wrong. So yeah, look, obviously the main thing for me that, well, obviously all of us as fans needed to be answered was the transfer window. Like, what happened? Why did we have to sell our best talent in Archie Gray? Was it to meet the deadline the 30th of June? Angus Kinnear basically turned around and said no, but they did know, and they did foresee if they didn't go up that they would have to have at least two kind of major sales. He said it didn't have to be Archie Gray, and didn't have to be any kind of certain players, but they did know that they needed two, and it essentially came down to it that he didn't say it in so many words, but it looks like Archie Gray kind of forced the move, that when the opportunity did come up for Archie Gray to leave the football club, that he more or less wanted to take it. Which kind of got me thinking around the kind of the contract end of things. Obviously, he recently only signed a contract extension, and he did kind of turn around and give us a little hint, which I think us as Leeds fans going forward are going to have to be prepared for, that the modern day footballer now just will not sign a contract without having some sort of release clause, whether it's a release clause for payments, a loan release clause, a relegation clause, whatever it may be. So it is going to be something that we're going to have to get used to in the modern day football, and it more or less kind of tells us that there is some sort of release clause in Willie Gnonto's contract. He did kind of turn around and say, with the talent of Archie Gray, obviously his family and his agent were never going to sign a contract and have him waste his best years down in the Championship in the off chance that Leeds United didn't get promoted back to the Premier League, which you can kind of understand. So for me, at least, this sheds a little bit of light on the sale of Archie Gray, because I think out of all the ones that went, I know Jorginho kind of hurt us, but for me, Archie was the biggest one for me when he was sold. It was just because you had this potential, this player, the Leeds in him, his family tree, everything. Look, we had a connection with this guy, and when he leaves, obviously it stings a little bit. He did go around to say that Somerville basically did make himself aware, make himself open that he was leaving, and you could kind of see that from his performance in the playoff final. He was just non-existent to me. He was already 1 foot out the door. I think we all kind of knew that Somerville was going to go anyway. Even if we probably did go to the Premier League, I think Somerville was going to look for a move anyway. Either way, that's just my opinion. Some people say he might have stayed, and look at who knows, but we're never going to know now. Hindsight is a great thing, but to me, Somerville was probably 1 foot out the door either way, whether we went up or whether we obviously didn't go up. And then basically touched on the one of Rutter, which is kind of explained itself. Anyway, he had a release clause of 40 million, which is obviously a bit kind of stupid from the club to buy him for 35 million and only put his release clause at another 5 million, at least put 50 million on it. You know what I mean? Kind of make some sort of game back on it. But in theory, then he's right, is what he's saying. The 40 million in the Championship for any player is unbelievable. But didn't really touch on the side, but we did pay 35 million for him. He did kind of turn around and say something about Jorginho Rutter when he turned around and said, when we first bought him, Jorginho was hated by the fan base. I don't think Jorginho was ever hated. I think hate would be a strong word. I don't think us as Leeds fans would hate player. I think we were very expecting, because he was our record signing. We just signed this guy in January window in the year that we got relegated for 35 million. we were expecting big things. We were trashing out 35 million here, and ultimately he didn't do anything for us. But I wouldn't say we were solely saying that we hate Georgina Rutter. I don't think he really got the playing time. He didn't kind of play under Marsh, didn't play under Allardyce. We got to see snippets of him here and there. He didn't really play, so I think that side of it, I think he kind of got that wrong. And look, there was a lot of things in this interview with Kinnear that I do agree with, and he did shed some light on it. It does kind of start to make sense. And obviously, look, at us as fans, the only thing that we care about is our football club and doing well on the pitch and winning football matches and 3 points, which is where the guys are employed to run the business side of the football club, which most of football, us fans don't really care about. There's some fans out there that do and kind of love to kind of see the business end of things, and I know you probably should care, but at the end of the day, for me, I just care about what goes on the football pitch. I want to see, exciting players. I want to see good football. You want to enjoy watching your football club for playing football, not for the business deals that they do off Red Bull or commercial deals, etc. So look, if it's for you, happy days. It's just, it's not for me. I don't care about the business side of football. But it kind of shed a lot of light on the decisions that were made this summer, and a lot of them do kind of make sense when you look at it. Obviously, we are still dealing with the hangover from the previous ownership. We are still dealing with the hangover of relegation, and now we are going to be dealing with the hangover of not getting promoted last season. And he did already kind of turn around and touch out that this is a massive year. If Leeds don't go this year, next year it's gonna be even harder. So we have to get out of this division. This year. So he kind of touched on the outgoings of the club, which kind of shed some light on it. He did kind of say that we didn't have to meet any target for the 30th of June, which kind of caught me a little bit off guard, because that was what we were being told as a fan base, that we had to meet this deadline at the 30th of June, and he basically kind of rubbished the claims, but I suppose you can only take it at face value. But then he kind of got into a lot of the incumbents and why we were kind of very passive in the window, kind of through it, and towards the end, then he kind of touched bases that they weren't kind of passive at all, that they went through hundreds of players, they were watching hundreds of hours of footage in the recruitment, and basically any players that were kind of approaching, he didn't mention two names. He did turn around and say Jack Clark and who else was it that he said? Jack Clark and Johnny Rowe. And he did say ultimately, well, Jack Clark has gone to the Premier League, again, totally understandable. And Johnny Rowe has gone to the top league in France, again, totally understandable. And he did turn around and say that Leeds United, with where we are in the Championship, are more or less a second option. So when you look at it, it's obviously not nice hearing as a football fan, because look, any of us would take Leeds United any day of the week. We'd play for Leeds United, but you have to understand that these guys are footballers. They're making a career for themselves. They only get one shot of it. So when an opportunity does come up to play in the bigger leagues, they're gonna take it. That's just the way of football nowadays. We don't like it, but unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It did shed a little bit of light on probably the most interesting thing for me during the transfer window, was our little kind of swoop at Gus Hamer, which still doesn't really make any sense, but he kind of shed a bit of light on the Leeds United side of when, in their eyes, that Gus Hamer would have been completely off the table, and there's no way in the world that Sheffield United are gonna sell to a championship rival. They're gonna want to keep their best players, and it was completely off the table. And then basically the feelers was put out to Leeds United by the sounds of it, by his agent, that maybe he's going to be interested in a bit of a move, and what sort of deal could be struck up. Leeds obviously went in. Sheffield United turned around and said absolutely no way, and especially not the Leeds United. And you could kind of hear in Angus Kinnear's tone of voice that it definitely is strained, that relationship with Sheffield United, whether it's over the Bogle deal or Chris Wilder throwing his toys out of the pram or whatever it may be. There's definitely seems to be a strained relationship there. So I would say that's when it came in, when Adam Pope did say to us that Leeds weren't going to go back in with a second offer, because they were just point blank refused by Sheffield United. So that kind of clears that one up of why that kind of came out. It was a little bit weird. To me, it still is a little bit weird, because obviously his agents or his people obviously put the feelers out to Leeds United and obviously to other clubs about the potential that he could be interested in a move, and then Sheffield United completely shut it down. So I guess that kind of clears up where that came from. He also did turn around, he mentioned Buendia as well, and the number 10 role, and they spoke on Daniel Farke's his post-match after Hull, when he did turn around and say about not having a number 10, and Dan Moylan did kind of press this, was it a bit disconnect, was it the board kind of made the decision not to get the number 10, because Daniel Farke seemed to kind of distance himself from the decision of not to get a number 10, and he more or less turned around and said that from his reading of it, that Daniel Farke and the club decided that a number 10, not that it wasn't needed, but a suitable number 10 that the club should have got or needed that they potentially weren't going to get, which I find it very hard to believe. He basically turned around and he mentioned the likes of Buendia and Pablo Hernandez, that these type of players are very hard to pick up. Yeah, totally understandable. But he more or less turned around and said that there's none of them out there, which is completely wrong. We could all sit here and roll number 10s off our tongue that would be suitable for Leeds United. That just didn't. He did turn around and say that they did inquire about Ebi Buendia, and it was said that Aston Villa weren't interested in a sale, and Buendia was just not dropping down to the Championship. Now, after I watched the video, I did see a little bit online kind of saying we were never going to get Buendia. It was unrealistic. Look at us as Leeds United fans, we want our club to be optimistic. I'd rather us go and try and get Buendia and acquire than not do it. Why not be? Why not go out? Why not try? The player could be unhappy at the club. He might want to be happy to drop back down and work with Daniel Farke. So I think, why not try it? If you fail, so what? And that's what everything that we do in life. If you fail, go and try again. It doesn't work out. It doesn't work out. And if you look at it, if you had turned around and said that we were going to get a Manar Solomon, you would have turned around and said you're absolutely off your trolley, and we've got him. So I do think Leeds United, we have to be optimistic, and we have to aim for the top targets. But then the other side of it is, do I believe that there wasn't a number 10 out there suitable to come in for whatever Leeds United's price range was, even if it was going to be around the 4 or 5 to 6 million? It didn't have to be a starter, but at least a suitable number 10 that could come on if they did see the likes of Willie Nanto and Brendan Aronson. And he touched on Brendan Aronson, saying, well, if we signed Brendan Aronson for half of the money we did in the Premier League, and he was a new sign and he didn't go out on loan, that the fans would absolutely be delighted with. Again, that's everything in hindsight. We know what Aronson has done. We know that he's came in, he's knuckled down, he is trying, he's done okay in that number 10. Willie Nanto's done okay in that number 10. And at the moment, it's square pegs and round holes, and it's fine, we're getting away with it. But when it starts getting into that season and the games start coming thick and fast, and you're playing weekend and you're playing midweek and you're playing weekend and you're playing midweek, that's when it starts to add up on players, and that's when you really need that creative number 10 to kind of unlock defences. You know, them teams that are going to sit in and are going to want to hit you on the break, and we're struggling to kind of break them down. That's when you do need that number 10. So that it's probably the biggest thing out of the whole interview that we didn't agree with him with. I don't believe for 1 second that Leeds United Football Club couldn't identify a number 10 to fill that role, whether it wasn't even a starting role, whether it was just a number 10 to come on, a number 10 that actually just plays that position. And we understand that he's saying that he wants kind of the top targets and the top level and top mentality for Leeds United, and that's fine, that's all well and good, we all want that. But we can all see we were crying out for number 10 last year, we're crying out for number 10 this year, and now this is 2 seasons that we've yet to fill it. Now again, whether that's financially, whether they have one eye on next season, if this does go pear-shaped again with the sales of Somerville, Rutter, Archie Gray, are we kind of covering ourselves for next year in case things do go P-Tong? If they are looking at it long term, well, then you can have to hold your hands up and turn around and say, right, fine, fair enough, I'm no accountant. The board have all the books, they know exactly what's owed out in transfers, what they plan to spend, and what the targets are going forward for this year. So if it is a situation where they kind of have one eye on next year, that we're not being 100% aggressive and putting all our eggs in one basket, that if the unthinkable happens and Leeds United don't get promoted this year, and we've now a partial payments drop again and players going to have to leave, that there is that kind of bit of leeway there from these player sales, well then I'm okay with that. Because at the end of the day, the financial stability and the run on the football club is essentially what matters, as much as you don't want to think about it that way. So yeah, that was probably the one side of it that I didn't really agree with him, and I didn't really understand where he was coming from with the number 10, because look, we all watch football, we know there's number 10s out there that are well within Leeds United's Leeds United's grass to play for his football club, and we obviously just decided and go for it for whatever reason that the football club has decided to run with. The next thing that I thought was kind of very interesting to get into, and it was kind of very much my feeling on it when I made the video about Leicester getting away with the PSR breaches. It kind of seemed to be echoed that from Kinnear, from his opinion, that he thinks that the system is absolutely broken as well, and that's what we all agree on, that how is it fair that you're essentially forced that your academy products, and not even a generational talent like Archie Gray, but your academy products that have came to your academy that basically cost you nothing, that you're selling them on and they're basically now becoming clubs' most prized assets because they have the most sell-on value. And it's for the lesser clubs and these bigger clubs like that. Spurs are buying them. We get promoted next season. We're playing Spurs. Archie Gray plays against us. Spurs beat us. Archie Gray has an unbelievable match. You know what? It doesn't kind of sit right. So I do agree with everything that he said about the whole PSR, that it's absolutely broken. He kind of did turn around to scrap it and kind of be kind of like a self-regulated system by the fans. He touched on the Super League and said that we, like us as fans, that we stopped that the good British government were sleeping for that, which again essentially he was right, but I don't agree with that. It should be just absolutely scrapped and kind of like a free-for-all, because then you could have the likes of Man City, Newcastle just doing absolutely whatever they want, and then you'll have football clubs right across England absolutely losing millions every single year without a care in the world, and that's just not sustainable. So there has to be some sort of kind of spending cap. There has to be some sort of growth within a football club to keep football clubs kind of winning a profit or their head above water. So I didn't agree with him in that sense, but I do agree with him that the whole structure of PSR at the minute is to benefit them top clubs, and essentially that it's just stopping any other club to kind of sustainably break into that bracket and to kind of get into that top 6 bracket. It's just not gonna happen. So I do have to agree with him on the PSR end of things, because it's exactly what I was saying in my video after Leicester, is that it's just absolutely broken. I think all of us as football fans think the exact same. If you're kind of outside that kind of top 6 bracket, like if you kind of speak to Liverpool, Scum, Arsenal, Chelsea fan, they don't really care about PSR. You know, they don't really kind of have any sort of opinion, and especially over here in Ireland, that's mostly the Irish kind of English fan market is the likes of the top 6 clubs. You very rarely, there's a couple of Leeds United fans talking about, but you don't really get anyone kind of outside of a couple of Aston Villa fans and Newcastle fans, and we'd all kind of be under the same sort of opinion of PSR, that it's very, very hard for our clubs to kind of sustainably break into that. And that's what he did turn around and say that in England, when you look at the likes of Leeds United, Newcastle, they are probably the clubs that have obviously the fan base and the drive that could be able to potentially break that top 6. And just the way it's set up at the minute with PSR and the rules is that it's very, very hard for clubs to do that and compete and to get in there sustainably. And it's just the way it's set up. It's absolutely not going to happen. So so the eyes will definitely have to be on PSR of where that's going to take English football in the next couple of years, and hopefully they can come up with a level playing field for absolutely every football club. Because look, at the end of the day, that's what we all love. Do you know what I mean? For it to be a level playing field, to know that you're putting 11 lads on a football pitch and they have a chance of beating each other, and look at that's competition, that's football. Do you know what I mean? That's why we love it. And next thing though, I kind of want to touch on that I thought was interesting, that kind of seems to have got the ball rolling, is the stadium redevelopment. It feels like we've been talking about this, the development of Elland Road for years now, but he has touched on that there is an announcement coming very, very soon about Elland Road, and he did touch to say that it was going to be a 53,000 increase, which look, it's well overdue, isn't it? Look, I think I've been in all 4 stands in Elland Road. I was in the West Stand for the Norwich semi-final, the playoff semi-final, and as much as I walked into it, and it kind of brings you back to the kind of the 70 kind of days, you're looking around going, this isn't Premier League ready, you know, this isn't top flight football ready. So it definitely is something that is well long overdue at Leeds United, and the sooner that we can get that done, the better. He didn't necessarily turn around and say that it all kind of hinged on us going to the Premier League, and it kind of seems like that the ball is very much rolling that. So yeah, let's hope sooner than later that they can kind of start redeveloping Elland Road as soon as possible. Another little thing that he kind of touched on, and Dan Moylan kind of seemed to be very kind of passionate about, was about the season ticket waiting list. And I'm on the season ticket waiting list probably, I think I actually signed up for a joint under the Gary Monk days. My dad obviously used to bring us over to Elland Road, and the attendance was so low we never even bought tickets before we went to Leeds. We used to just go straight down to Elland Road and go to the ticket office and buy our tickets there on the day, which when I look back now seems absolutely mental. It blows my mind when I think about that now. But when my dad kind of stopped going to Elland Road and I kind of started going myself, and I could see attendance coming up, I was like, oh, I'd love a season ticket. I'd love to even move over to Leeds, and obviously for it, a wife and kids and that. So that's definitely gone out the window. But I'm still on the season ticket waiting list. I've signed me eldest fellow up to the season ticket waiting list as well. And Dan Moylan kind of touched on it, that it's obviously a payment benefit to the football club that we've signed up to be on this waiting list, and to not have any sort of knowledge of where we are on this waiting list is like what he said, if we're 600,000 or if we're 35 in the list. Surely Leeds United could do an email, and it could be a non-response, because you kind of turn around and say, well, we'll open dialogue then with football fans, and it can be very hard on the guys who run the ticket office, which I 100% agree with. Like, you don't want to be kind of getting in dialogue, well, why am I 200,000 in the queue, you know? But surely there could be an email, like the way it's sent out these emails for all these promotions of new jerseys, new kits. Surely there could be an email sent out to everyone that's on that season ticket waiting list to turn around and go, well, this year you're 11,000 in the queue, this year you're 8,000 in the queue. It's a non-reply email. That's exactly where you are in the queue. And at least then it's kind of some sort of structure for everyone that's on that season ticket waiting list. Now, look, you might never go, but at least you know where you are in that queue. And if you are up there and you have been on it 20 years or whatever it may be, at least you kind of know that you're kind of getting somewhere, where at the minute you don't know where you are. It could be any kind of year, it could be never. But at least you know where you are in that. So that's definitely that. I think that the club should be looking at something like that. He did turn around and say that it's only ever a handful of tickets. He said maximum of about 30, which is fine. But that's still 30 people. Do you know what I mean? Probably getting something that is absolutely unbelievable, an absolute dream to most Leeds United fans, is to have a season ticket. So it's definitely something that the club have to look at. They need kind of some sort of structure there with the season tickets. They did kind of touch on saying, well, it was more so Michael asked it about that the club don't really care about season tickets, that look, at they're happy enough of people kind of coming in and buying them general admission tickets, because that's where the money is, and obviously corporate and that. And he didn't really kind of deny it. He kind of bowed down to the fact that there was no kind of denying of that, but you still kind of have to reward the loyal fan base, and you're always going to have some sort of kind of season ticket waiting list there. So yeah, guys, look, I thought it was a good interview. It was obviously eagerly awaited by the Leeds United fan base, especially everything that happened this summer. We kind of needed someone for the football club to kind of come out and tell us exactly what's going on. Do I think it should have been Parag Marate? Yeah, absolutely should have been. Look, but I know it's kind of a yearly thing with the square ball. I thought the lads done great. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's probably some people out there saying, they didn't force him enough. They didn't ask this question. They didn't ask him that question. But you do have to get that he isn't tied down to this, lads. This isn't a contract that he's contracted to come out and do this every year. He decides to do this as a football club. And, you know, essentially, if the lads come out and kind of burn their bridges with the football club, or burn the bridges with Angus Kinnear, he'll just refuse to do it, and then it doesn't leave us anywhere. So I do think they're doing a great job. They force him as much as they could to answer the main questions that we could be asked about. And to be honest with you, I actually do come out feeling a lot better after listening to the interview. And now I kind of feel like the momentum of the season can kind of start for me now. It kind of eventually closes the transfer window. It's done, it's over, it's forgotten about. The club obviously done the best for the football club, and now us as fans now kind of just have to knuckle down, back the squad. But I do feel like that the whole kind of momentum now is behind the season for me. When you look at our results, it isn't a bad start to the season whatsoever. We've got a massive game at home to Burnley on the weekend. We win that. Look at our tails are up, and fans starting to believe. So it's the old Leeds United saying, keep the faith and keep believing, and we stick together and march on together, because what else can we do? We need it this year. It's imperative for the football club. It's imperative for us going forward that we get promoted out of this league, because this time next year, if we're still in the championship, you can guarantee it that whatever assets were stripped from the club this year, it's going to be even worse next year. So let's get out of this league. Let's put all this behind us. We do have faith in the 49ers now. It does seem that they're in the best interest of Leeds United in regards to the Red Bull. I'm not even going to touch on that, because I just think that's for another day, and we just kind of have to wait and see. There's no sense of speculating on Red Bull, whether they're here to take full majority and turn us into Red Bull Leeds, or if they're just here for a bit part. We can only go off of being told. He's saying that it's only a shareholder capacity, that they've no interest in taking over Leeds, they've no interest in rebranding. So that's for another day, and there's no sense of what you're saying. Look, there's no sense of worrying about something that hasn't happened yet. Be speculative, and keep one eye over your shoulder, and we'll keep an eye out and see what happens. But until anything does happen, we just have to go exactly what he's saying. So yeah, guys, as I said, unexpected video tonight. I genuinely thought it was going to be tomorrow that it was going to come out. But me and Dylan will be back for a match day review tomorrow. And again, guys, please like, comment, subscribe on the video, and we'll keep it going, and we'll chat to you tomorrow.